Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama. Thank you for joining me for another episode. This week, I have another guest who I'm so excited to talk to in person because we actually started talking at this point 3 years ago by email, and finally she's my guest on the show. My guest is Cindy Harmon, and she runs the Etsy shop Mason Jar Designs by CH. Cindy, 3 years later, thank you so much for being my guest and welcome to the podcast.
I am so excited. Oh my gosh. It's so my heart's skipping a beat or two. This is great. I mean, thank God you are a patient woman. It hasn't been that long. And I didn't think about it until you actually said it earlier. I was like, God, time flies by so fast. It's crazy. But I'm excited to be on your podcast.
Yeah, time really does fly. And so you've been on Etsy since 2012. Can you tell us, first of all, what you sell on Etsy and how you discovered Etsy?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have always been a crafter by heart. And I look back, even back when my kids were young, and like my son was born in 96, and I had this urge of just make something and sell it to the world. Mm-hmm. And, that was so long ago, with internet and, I just had this thing. So I would, make flowers for somebody's wedding, or I made hair bows for my daughter when she was younger. And I just always had it in the back of my mind, like, I am going to own a business one day, and I'm just so I can craft. That's all I want to do is craft. So it's so strange how my business come about. So Mason Jars Designs by CH. So how this pretty much started, you probably remember the whole Pinterest when Pinterest launched, which was pretty close to 2012. You remember the whole?
I don't remember when it first launched. I was kind of late to the Pinterest game, but I know it's fairly new compared to some others. Well, what we think of our social media platforms. Right.
So I was like, in the back of my mind, we just moved from Alabama, which of course you can hear in my voice. And now we live in Florida. So I moved here and I had gotten a job, which we'll go into sooner or later at some point, but I had gotten a job that I realized really quickly that I wasn't going to be making a whole lot of money in the job that I actually applied for and that I would actually be working at. So then I was like, you've got to start a business doing something. So I had to really deep get into my soul and be like, what do I really want to do? What's happening? So I went to Pinterest, and Pinterest started this whole thing with the blue mason jar soap dispensers. Yes. You remember those?
Yes.
That is my inspiration of my store. So I was like, I love mason jars. I'm from Alabama. My grandmother, she was a huge canner. So I was like, what a great way. It's just, let's just do something with mason jars. So I started, my very first sale was the blue ball mason jar soap dispenser. And I remember, I think it was maybe 3 months into my store, and we were in the Keys. We were on vacation. And I remember my phone going cha-ching, and I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what is my phone cha-chinging? And it was that blue mason jar soap dispenser. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got my first sale. This is great. So it kind of started from there, but if you go to my store, I don't even have the blue ball mason. I don't even have it in my store anymore. Not to say I don't have about 15 of those in my garage right now. I need to do something with. But I was just, my brain started going. So then the concept was my name before I even opened my Etsy store. I'm like, what am I going to name my store? I was like, well, it's got to have mason jars in it, because if I'm going to sell mason jars, it has to be mason jar stuff, right? It has to be that in the name. So that's how I came up with the creation of my name, which I think has helped me along the way when I first started, because there wasn't a whole lot of people on Etsy that actually sold a ton of mason jar items when I launched in 12.
Mm-hmm.
So and I was really the only one who tinted them. So that I probably spent from 2012 to 2014, and all I created was a mason jar that had color on it. That was it. I mean, if you wanted it yellow, if you wanted it red, if you wanted it blue, and that's when the mason jar weddings pretty much took off. And I was so busy, I could not even see straight. I was like, everybody is coming to me wanting mason jar glasses. That's what they want. So I was really super lucky for quite some time. That's all I was doing was tinted glass. That was it. Then every now and then I would have a customer who would reach out to me that was like had a wedding or at a baby shower, and they would say, "But I would really like my name on it. I would like to have a custom order. Can you put my name on it?" I'm like, "No, I can't put names on anything." Yeah. But then I woke up one day and was like, you're going to have to start doing it, because if you don't start customizing your store, you're not going to have a store, because the mason jar is going to come and go.
Yeah.
And it's going to. So then I bought my first silhouette cameo, which everybody loves cricket, but I'm a silhouette girl. And it was right at Christmas time. And then I pretty much just hit the ground running, and I started putting his name on them. And I have not stopped. It's wild.
So that was a couple of years after you first started selling?
Yeah, 2 years. And all I had was tinted glass for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So then it pretty much took off, and everybody that would reach out to me, if they want like weddings, like if they want their name on it, they wanted a date on there, or I get all kinds of requests. So I basically just started taking pictures of everything and started placing them in my store. And if you look through my store, it's all pretty much everything you've seen in my store has been created for a customer.
I was actually going to ask about that. So now is everything you do pretty much personalized?
Everything's in there. Yeah.
Okay.
I have over 550 items right now. And some of that is actually original to 2012.
Oh.
That why change it? If it's still selling, why even change it? It's working, and I don't play with it, and it sits there and it just sells. Or if I have somebody who has a custom order, I'm like, you know what? I love this order. I'm going to take a picture of it and I'm going to put it in my Etsy store.
Yeah. So I have two questions about that. One, how do you figure out which new product lines will work? Like the teacups. Now you do lots of teacup and saucer sets. How did you know those would work if you had never done them before?
Because my son, the teacups are so interesting. So, I wasn't going to go into the teacup world, but my son, every time he would probably itch at me every 2 weeks. You really need to get into teacups. Get into teacup sets. And I was like, do you think I really should? He's like, no, I really feel like that's going to be so great. And then I had this thing in my heart, like, I'm in mason jars and here I am going into teacup world. That doesn't make sense in my store,
Right.
And I really fenced over it for probably, I want to say at least a month. Like it just kept agging at me, like I needed to try to get into it. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to try it. I mean, what's it going to hurt? What's it going to hurt? So that's probably one of the most successful items in my store right now are the teacup sets, because when I launched them, I probably sold my first set within a week. And I was like, whoa, I might be onto something here, because I've put things in my store thinking, let's toy around with it. Let's see what happens with it. Yeah. And then it sits there and it never sells. But the teacup, they sold. And I was like, well, maybe I'm onto something here. And everybody loves their name on it, anything.
Yes.
I mean, they want their name on it. And so far, so good in the teacup world. When
did you branch out into teacups? Like, how many years after your shop was open?
I have only been in teacups maybe a year.
Really? So they're recent.
They're very recent. Yes. And the crazy part is I didn't want to put a lot of financial backing into the teacup because I was scared I was going to have like all this inventory sitting in my garage. We've all, as Etsy store owners, thought, oh, I'll get into this and I'm just going to buy. Oh my gosh, it's a great sale. I'm just going to buy a bunch of them. Oh my gosh. I still have like items in my garage. I'm like, who am I going to pawn this off on a family member? Because this is not working. It's not, I need to get rid of it.
Yes.
And even like mason jar bathroom sets, which worked for me back in 2012, you don't see as much of that in my store anymore because I'm slowly weeding out of it. It's not something I want to do anymore. They're very time intensive, and I'm like, just the mason. I'm just not going to do them anymore. But they're still in my store, so if anybody wants to order them, I'll do them.
So a question about that then. So you're getting rid of that line because you don't want to carry them anymore. But is it a line of products that's still doing well? And are you shooting yourself in the foot?
Believe it or not, it has not. That particular item has not sold well since probably 17 or 18, at least a couple of years now. Okay. So there's no, and the good thing about that particular item, it's not, it's soap pumps. That's an easy thing to get for me. So if somebody really wants one, I'm not completely getting rid of everything. And if somebody reaches out to me, like they might have ordered a set from me back in 14, like I've got this one lady in California, she will reach out to me like every 2 years. And she loves her mason jar set so much. She just wants like new pumps with the screw top on them. That's all she wants. I can almost guarantee every 2 years since I've had my Etsy store, I've made her like she wants a new design but she still has the same mason jar bathroom set in her bathroom since 2013. Wow. Can you imagine? I would have changed my bathroom by now, but hey, I mean, when I see her name, I get so excited. I know exactly what she wants. And it's like we reconnect. So, it's interesting that, and if you go to my store too, a lot of my items don't look like mason jar items. And I think that's what has made my store so unique and different compared to a lot of other stores, because they're vibrant and they're colorful. And I try to make it, to where everybody will want to come in and there'll be something that they don't like. Oh, it's a mason jar. I will tell you, there for a little while, not very long, because now we're in the pandemic. And the pandemic is an interesting thing all its own, because canning is the new trend right now. Did you know that?
Painting?
Canning vegetables.
Oh, canning.
The mason jar right now, you cannot find a lot of them through the country.
Oh.
Yes. So
How has that affected your business then?
this has been a very interesting since about April. So you can either I find what I need or I don't. But if I don't, I usually will try to find something comparable to it. Like there's one particular jar which it's so interesting how many people have reached out to me through Etsy conversation of people wanting to buy bulk of this particular jar, which is the just to let you know, it's a wide mouth pint and a half jar, just 24 ounces, and it looks just like a drinking tumbler. So that's a big item in my store. So you can't find that jar anywhere in the country right now.
But people want to
Nowhere.
buy it from you without you doing anything to it to use it for
Right.
canning? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so like you could go into wholesale, essentially.
I could if I could get my hands on it. So the funny thing is I've reached directly out to all of the canning companies right now,
Yeah.
and I'm like, so what's going on here? When are we going to get some mason jars? I mean, I've never seen shelves so empty. The canning jar is the new. But the thing with my business is I have a good supply of those always on hand because I don't like going and shopping for a case of here and there. So if I do have, I usually will carry, several cases in my garage. So,
Okay.
if anybody orders anything from me currently right now, I'm good. But now I'm starting to feel the panic a little more
Yeah.
because I'm like, what? I've only got 12 of these left. So what am I going to do? And I actually had to put on this is the first time I've ever had to do this, but I didn't take the listings down. I basically just put something in my about section about this particular jar.
I saw
And
that.
it's just hard for me to get right now. So I've only had, and I also had to raise my price on it to try to keep the wholesalers away from me, because if you go Google this jar, I believe it or not, my jar is coming up in the search. So this is why I think a lot of people are reaching out to me trying to buy them from me. I'm like, no, I don't have no, this is hot commodity right now. So I've only had one customer who bought one, and she's like, it's for me. I'll wait however long it takes for me to get it. I'm like, oh, I love you.
So let me ask you about that. Prior to the pandemic, you had your suppliers, but once everything happened and manufacturers weren't able to keep up with production, right now you're saying you initially didn't really feel the pinch until just recently, or you're anticipating that you're soon going to feel the pinch. What do you have a contingency plan in place for if you just cannot get your inventory in stock?
Right. I am really lucky because the one or two items that I really need, I actually have been real lucky and found comparable looking jars that look just like the ball one. And so if anybody does buy it from me, it's practically me just sending them a message and say, hey, so this is what's going on. These are your two option glass, which I make glasses of them. So what ends up happening, most like 99.9% of the time, they're like, oh, I like that jar better anyway. So give me that one. I think my customers get more fixated on the color and having a name on it. I don't think they get so fixated on it's that particular type of jar.
Style.
And if they do, then I refund them. And then I'll even give them a coupon code and just come back and visit me. But I really have not ran into that problem because it always seems like the luck of jars and the luck of odd jars actually come on me, and I actually end up finding them. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm on every email alert there could possibly ever be. So if I'll get an email, they're in stock, and then I go buy 5 cases.
Oh, wow.
Oh, this is so much better. This is great. So I haven't felt the pinch, and I really think in my business, they're working really hard on getting production back up. I've talked to 2-3 people at my wholesalers, and they're like, listen, we really feel like they're back in production. They've actually increased their production. It's just taking a little bit of time for them to get caught up on it.
Okay.
So I feel optimistic about it. And also we're hitting winter where there shouldn't be any canning happening anymore. So I'm really hoping that, people will have enough of canning their peaches and their tomatoes.
Okay, so I have a question then, because, well, for a couple of reasons. One, the uncertainty with inventory on hand, but also the nature of your business, because a lot of what you do now is personalized. How do you, what does a typical day in the life of your Etsy shop look like? How much time do you dedicate to making? How much time and when do you schedule time for handling customer service issues? And then there's the shipping and all that. What does a typical day look like for you just running your business?
Well, my business is so different now compared to what it used to be. So I actually have a full-time job. I'm actually in the entertainment industry, and I work at a nonprofit theater. So back before COVID, my normal, typical, usual day would be just when I could work on Etsy. So if I'm working Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, but I'm an event person, and with events, we are nights and weekends.
Okay.
So I just worked on it when I could work on it. There were times that I'm like on my lunch hour at the conference room table working on a jar. I just fit it in when I could, and I actually managed it very well. I stayed on top of my Etsy conversations with all of my customers.
Yeah.
If I couldn't get to it because I had like a whole week of Nutcracker and I knew that I had an 80-hour work week, I would just communicate that with my customers. And they were actually, I am the luckiest girl. And I know a lot of Etsy store owners that feel this way. I have such the most wonderful customers. And they're like, oh, Cindy, it's fine. You know what? Or if it's not, they'll tell me, hey, I really need to have this within the next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I stop what I'm doing and I make it happen. So, it's changed. So with COVID, a lot of people don't realize this. In the entertainment business, on March the 13th, when the country was shut down, that means all performing arts centers were closed down. So entertainment stopped as well. So that was the day that, and it was so interesting. We had such a busy weekend. Like that week, we had 3. It happened. I think we closed down on Friday. We had a show that day, and then we had 2 sold out shows on Saturday and Sunday that we had to cancel. So then Monday, I had to go in and pack up my whole office in a box with my PC, and then we've been working remotely from home ever since March. So my typical day is I'll try to wake up around 6:30, and I really work hard for 2.5 hours till about 9 o'clock. And I answer all my Etsy conversations and all of my communication. The thing that is hard for me is I like having my cell phone in my bedroom. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I'm not real good about turning my volume down. So I'm actually that person who wakes up in the middle of the night, and if I hear that ding, I actually get up and I will go answer the Etsy at my messages. And
No, you do?
I do. I do. And I'm like, oh, and there are times I'm like, well, that can wait till the morning, or it's real quick, like, da. Or I'll be that person who hears a ching at 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, I got an order. Let me go look at my phone. So I try to get up early, and then I'm in my work mode, which is my home office. And I really try to stay focused on that. And then at lunchtime, I'll go answer my messages. And then the good thing about not commuting is I've got 2 hours extra in my day. So I actually feel like I'm more on top of my Etsy business because I don't have my commute anymore.
Yeah.
So I can get off by 4:30, and then I hit my Etsy world, and I stay up a little later than I used to. And I just like I'm a lot more under control than I was before, which is weird. But it's weird. And my business has not slowed down. It's actually I have a great story to tell you if you're ready to hear this one.
I'm listening.
So, okay. So March the 12th, we all were homebound. So I actually was so focused in on the TV and what was going on with the virus and just so obsessed with TV. And I got into home projects and wasn't paying attention to my phone. And I really neglected my Etsy store because I was like, who's going to buy anything during a pandemic? I just kind of thought in my mind that nobody was going to come visit me anymore. And one day, I think I was maybe a week and a half in to COVID, and I checked my store and I was shocked. I had 40 orders sitting in my Etsy store that I didn't even know about.
Did your phone not send you a notification?
I ignored it. I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. I was just so obsessed with, oh my gosh, what's the future going to be like? I mean, COVID. And I opened it and I was like, I guess I better get busy working on my Etsy store.
Now, I'm curious about that though, Cindy. When you saw that, did you panic or were you happy?
I was happy, but I was like, oh, people are homebound and they're ordering online. I just thought in my mind that nobody would buy anything. I just thought the world was falling apart and nobody was shopping and everybody was doing what I was doing, was paying too close to like obsessing with the COVID numbers,
Yeah.
And I was surprised. I was really surprised. So just recently I've slowed down. Probably in the last 2-3 weeks, it's slowed down a lot, but there for a while, I was like, everybody's shopping online. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like it. And I had the inventory, which was nice. And I just created. And it actually brought a little bit of more creativity in me. And, I was like, you know what? I really need to focus in on some new products. And if I'm going to launch anything, I need to, why not?
Yeah.
What the heck? Why not? So it's fun.
And did you launch any new products either around the pandemic or just new products because you had inspiration for some type of new line to carry?
Well, I did. So I don't know if it's something I'm going to keep in my store forever, but I have I was on Etsy buying something for myself and ran across somebody's store that had the little Mickey Mouse straw toppers. And I'm a big Disney fan. So I was like, oh my God, those are so cute. I want some of those for myself. So instead of freaking going and buying a ton of them for myself, I decided I was going to play around a little bit with that. But I'm getting away from those. But I think what has happened is, in addition to my glasses, I have these cute little straw toppers that actually have people's names on them. And I feel like, and I'm actually starting to sell those this week. I've sold several. And I think those are going to be my new addition to my glasses. So I was looking at it from a different standpoint. Like if somebody buys a handled mason jar, this is a great addition to their glass. It's
Right.
kind of like an acrylic straw. It's just something extra.
Yeah.
And people like names on them. So I was like, you know what? I think I've actually hit something here. And that might be something that may take off more,
Yeah.
especially when weddings start really flowing back around again and they start getting larger. I think that's a good addition. That's a
Okay.
new thing in my store. Yeah.
Typically, how long do you give a product before you determine whether it's worth keeping around? So something like this, I know you're probably going to let it run through the 2021 wedding season, hopefully, which will be better than 2020 wedding season. But ordinarily, how long do you give a product before you decide it's not worth holding on to?
I actually wait at least 6 months
Okay.
because, and there's a reason why anything that you launch on Etsy is not going to sell right away. It's just not. It needs time to work through the search,
Hmm.
and sometimes I have to go back in and look at my tags and look at my keywords. I really give a product at least 6 months to see if it's going to move. And
Okay.
if it doesn't move, then I'm like, you know what? This is just something that I need to just take out.
Okay.
So, I don't give up so easily. I
Okay.
feel like it takes a little time. And I think that's what happens with a lot of Etsy store owners. I think they get very impatient
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, it's been in my store for 2 weeks and it's not selling and I'm failing. Like, oh, you really need to give it time. And you've got to spend some time on social media, and you've got to, go on Pinterest, and you've got to read tech. You just got to give everything a valid effort. As long as your pictures are beautiful,
Hmm.
just give it a little time.
Okay.
Now, after 6 months, it's gone. It's like, all right, I give up. I'm
Okay.
not going to try this anymore.
And how do you phase out a product? Do you just let the listing run its course and end it, or do you create a like a discount or clearance section in your shop?
I have never done that. I really feel I'm pretty strong in the whole discounting world. I don't do a lot of sales.
Mhm.
Right now, I have the free shipping over $99
Okay.
because I feel like that probably helps. It does help, but I don't offer like 10%, 20% off of my store, or have like a sale. I just do that. What I end up doing is I have all of my listings automatically relist.
Hmm.
And then if there's a day, then I just disconnect it. And then I just don't spend money on it anymore.
Okay.
It's just easier for me to just keep that automate. I'm sure my bill probably reflects a lot of that.
Yeah.
But it's just in it. I try to keep, like I've got like a bowl in my store that I've only sold one of, and I think I put it in my store maybe 2 years ago. But I really feel like it doesn't need to go away. I think it needs to stay. So I keep spending the money to have it relisted, and I'm
Yeah.
like, but I love you. I don't want you to go
You're
anywhere.
hoping its owner will come and find it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So I try. I really don't. It's got to be one of those. And there's actually times I'm like, am I overstretching myself? Because I know a lot of Etsy store owners out there. They want to try new things, and they think, oh, but I only carry this one item, and here I am bringing in. Does this make my store look convoluted and look a little off?
Mm-hmm.
I thought about that with my teacup set. Like my jar's name, my business name is Mason Jar Design by CH, and here I am. I have teacups in my store. That doesn't make sense. But I think ultimately what works for me is it doesn't matter. The name doesn't matter for me. It's my being in Etsy for 8 years and having repeat customers, and they actually have favored my store, and they will reach out to me, but when did you start selling teacup sets? This is great. I mean, I'm like, yeah, this is outside of what I normally do. And they're like, well, then I'm ordering a set. I'm like, great. So I don't know if I would really suggest it for a store that's been inactive, only been around for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Bouncing as much as I've done. I think it's because I've been here for so long.
Yes. And I think there is something to that with stores that have been around having a bit more leeway to be a bit more all over the place, if you will. Not all over the place, but to do more and not necessarily be known for one thing. Because now there is, I think, newer stores, it's easier to gain traction if they come in with a specific niche and are known for that, because then it helps with them ranking in the search engine. But until you've had that longevity on the site, and I don't know, this is just all my theory, but I think that does have something to do with it.
Yeah. And I think the size of your store makes a big difference too. Like I've got 2 or 3 friends that just started on Etsy within the past year. And I think I really feel like there's a lot of Etsy store owners that think, having 10 items on their store, that they're going to be in the top 5 of selling on Etsy. I think it's longevity, and I think it's the size of the inventory of your store sometimes too that makes things push, because I don't really feel like I sold heavily on Etsy till I had at least 100 items in my store. Yeah. I think it was something that I had to work on diligently and keep putting stuff on there and keep putting the inventory on there. And I still feel that way today. It's like, I think it's because I have a good bit of inventory right now. And I tell my friends, don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Yeah. And I think that works I think it also kind of depends on the product as well. Because I will say, I have had some guests on the podcast who the exact opposite is true, but it works for them because of the products that they sell and the niche that they're in. And so I think in general, yes, if you sell a product that lends itself to volume, then it helps to have more inventory to show up, to have more opportunities to show up in search. But then if you're selling something so specific and niche that, one, there's less competition, but 2, also if it comes, closest to what a shopper is looking for, you might not need to have quite as many. And in particular, I'm thinking of Reggie's Dolls, which aired last year, and she does the opposite. Like, she trimmed her product line down from, I think she said it was 200 or 300 down to less than 10. But
I went to her store. Yeah. I was like, she's got a great store. Yes. I hope she's listening. Send me a message if you're listening. I loved her. Every podcast I listen to, I'm like, I'm gonna check out that. She has a great store. It's great.
She does.
I'm inspired. I'm inspired by everything she does.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I was in awe because, again, her niche is so specific and so unique. People are willing to wait 6 months for a doll.
Incredible. It's incredible.
Yes.
I mean, it made me want to make a doll, but I couldn't sew a button on my shirt today. I'm sure I can figure it out, but I think that's the great thing about Etsy, that you just, if you're creative and you have like that sense of urgent, you want to own your own business, and and you've got some business sense to you, because not everybody, I mean, there have actually been times I've went to my accountant at the end of the year, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I spent way too much money in advertising this year. What was I thinking? We've all had those moments of like, you really look at your hardcore numbers when you're sitting there and you're like, whoa, why did I spend that much in advertising each day? What was I thinking? I need to trim that back. Or how much did I spend in jars that year, or paint, or, I think, the true American spirit is in Etsy for sure. And I'm a huge fan. We've both been around. We've been around for so long. We've seen so many changes. I've seen some I've loved, and I've seen some that I'm not so crazy about, but I'm willing to ride the ride. I don't, I hear a lot on your podcast that I don't put all your eggs in the same basket. I'm the person who puts their eggs in the Etsy basket.
There's always someone.
It's me. Because I'm like, what do I do? Because I have platform that I use through Etsy, which doesn't really get a lot of traction.
Platform. Pattern, you mean?
Yeah, the pattern. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm like, do I really want to stay with that, or do I want to go to Shopify? But it's one more thing I have to do. Do I really want to do that? That's my struggle lately.
Yeah.
Like, do I really want to? It works for me. I send people to Etsy. I do a little bit of local business, but not a whole lot. It's my comfort zone, because I've just been doing it for so long. And I feel like I have a lot of repeat customers, and I don't see me coming off of the platform just because I'm upset over how much money they're taking on off-site or on-site advertising right now. I'm not crazy about it, but especially when I'm offering my free shipping, and then I get walloped with it. It's like, how much did I just give that order away in my advertising budget? And I'm not crazy about, the on-site advertising when, when the customer, I'll give you an example. I had a really sweet lady reach out to me who was having a private party at her house, and she wanted to order one glass from me to see what it would look like. One glass, just one. And I was like, great. So I created it and I mailed it. I shipped it. She ordered 25 of them within a month. I got the private listing, and then I got the, what was it, 10% or 12% taken off, because it was considered a off-site advertising.
As in she originally found you off of Etsy.
She must have found me through she found me through an off-site advertisement to start for that one glass.
Okay,
then
so
I set up
Wait, so where did they take the ad money off of? The order for one, or the order for 25, or both?
For both of them.
So does that mean she will forever cost you money, and you might not know the answer to this, but I'm just curious now. So I wonder if she will forever cost you money if she remains like a repeat customer, or if there's a certain time frame during which she places an order that you will get charged. Does that make sense?
Yep. And it is actually 30 days.
Oh,
so
okay.
Right. But I don't agree. I don't agree with custom. If I'm going to take the time to, on the first order, yes, that's how she ended up coming to my site.
Right.
But for a private listing, for a large order, I mean, I don't agree with Etsy coming back and taking that percentage.
That seems a little
Yeah,
bit greedy. Like the first time, yes, but then after that, you've already, not you, but Etsy has already, quote, acquired that customer, and they
yep.
paid once to acquire her. She's now found the site. She's on the site. She's found what she's looking for. It kind of doesn't make sense that you would be charged an advertising fee again
Mm-hmm.
if she came directly to Etsy. Like the next time she came to order, she likely didn't do a Google search and then end up on your shop. She very likely probably went directly to your store. So it didn't cost anything for her to come back to you the second
Yeah,
time.
it is
Ah.
the one thing that is like getting underneath the skin, especially when I offer free shipping. So on her particular order, since I'm in North Florida, I didn't realize that this was even happening. I actually offered the free shipping, and she's in California and I'm in North Florida.
Oh, so you paid
And
maximum.
it's so expensive to ship to
Yeah, because
California.
you're shipping zone 6 to 1 or 1 to 6, something
Woo.
like end to end is what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So until I looked at the tail end of it, and I was like, well, then I didn't do really well on this order after all.
Did you make any profit?
I did.
Yeah,
I mean, the
just
thing
not
about it
as
is,
yeah.
it's not as much as I wanted. Like, it's really, I guess it's just principle. I'm like, I've given you a lot, Etsy. Why are you taking more of my money?
Yeah.
Just I pay in advertising with you every day.
Yeah. Oh, ouch. Yeah. That does hurt. Does.
Yeah, but that's okay. I pretty much got over that. But I do pay. I pay really close attention to that now. When I used to not pay as much. It's not like you can ask each customer like, where did you find me?
No.
Did you find me on Google? I mean, you can't do that. You just have to roll with it.
Ask them and say, can you wait 30 days before you? No, you can't do that.
You can't do that. I mean, it's just part of doing business, and they have done a great job as far as advertising. I feel like they're doing a really good job on making sure to make us feel like we're somewhat important. To just seeing it on TV just makes me so happy. The commercials, I'm like,
the ads, right? Yes.
Thank you. There's something.
The ads do kind of get me excited a bit, especially when somebody will call who knows I do the podcast. They're like, I saw you on TV. I'm like, no, you did not see me on TV. They're like, yes, I did. I saw Etsy. I'm like, okay, I'm not Etsy, but I get what you're saying.
But thank you. Were you the one opening the gift on TV? Like, oh, it's a special gift.
Yeah.
So funny. I mean, it's a great platform, and I have helped so many. Like, I have this one sweet store that I don't know if anybody's ever been, but she really specializes in Disney stuff. But her name is Mariel Marie, and her store is Mariel Ariel Marie Treasures. So she's
is it Ariel Marie or Mariel Marie?
Ariel, Ariel, Ariel Marie Treasures.
Oh, okay.
And she has the best Instagram. She is top notch on her videos, and I'm obsessed with like watching her. She makes tumblers that she puts on like a turntable, and she shows like the whole. I mean, her Instagram is wonderful. But I noticed the other day, and her and I have actually really became friends through Etsy now. But she had something in one of her key in her title, which I actually got hit for back when I first opened back in 2012. I actually used the color Tiffany blue in one of
Oh,
my listings, not knowing that Tiffany Jewelry Company owns the rights to Tiffany Blue. Did
yeah.
you know that?
Yes.
And then I got my message through Etsy, like, this listing has been taken down. You were copyrighted. And I thought I was gonna die. I thought I was going to like the trademark jail. And so I actually noticed on her Instagram she used the word Tiffany Blue. And I was like, and I reached out to her. I was like, hey, I don't want to be one of those people, but this is what happened to me. And she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you told me. I had no idea. So she didn't take it any other way but helpful.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad, because you just don't ever know if anybody's going to be like, oh, she's trying to tell me what to do.
Right, right.
And her and I we've become a little bit of friends through Etsy World. Her store is fantastic.
Okay,
Fantastic.
so I will link to her store. It's Ariel Marie Treasures for anyone who wants to check it out and maybe connect with her and let her know Cindy sent you. And
Yeah.
I'll take that as your Etsy shop shout out.
Yes, she's great.
Yeah.
She's super great. And I've used a couple, like being in the entertainment business. I actually, with us, we're going to be reopening and start entertaining the masses again starting next month. Yay!
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I actually have used a couple of Etsy store owners to create our COVID signing for our Performing Arts Center.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and they have been wonderful. So this one particular one, I just reached out to her. I was like, hey, I'm not in the graphic world business, and I'm trying to like create all of this COVID compliant signage for our Performing Arts Center. Can you just put our logo on your pre-made signs? And she absolutely did, and did not charge me a penny more. She went in and and we ended up using all of her signage for us to reopen.
Nice.
She has been wonderful too. But her store is called Foolish Heart Designs.
Is that with an F? Foolish?
Foolish, yep.
Okay.
Foolish Heart Design Company, I think, is the tail end of her. And her name is Ava. And she didn't have to do all of that. I mean, she could have said, hey, I'm going to charge you extra to put the logo in. And she ended up I think she ended up doing 20 different signs for our Performing Arts Center.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll put a link to her shop as well too, so folks can check it out. It's Foolish Art Design Company or Co.
Yep. That's it.
Okay.
Yep. She's great.
All right. So let's change tracks for a minute and talk about social media. Speaking about, since we mentioned Ariel's Instagram, what do you do in the way of promotions outside of the Etsy ads? Well, the ones that you can run yourself and then the ones that are, done by Etsy. What else do you do to promote your shop?
I actually spend a little bit of money on Pinterest.
Oh, you do?
And I do. I not a ton of money, just a little bit of money, just enough to build some traction.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably don't spend more than $20 a month on Pinterest, but I can see a difference once I do spend the money with them. So that has actually been a really good outlet for me.
Okay.
And then I'm on Instagram. I try to put something up every day. I haven't been real good at it this week, but it could be just something really simple. Okay. And then that links to my Facebook page automatically. I don't get a whole lot of traction on Facebook, but Instagram seems to be a good outlet for me.
Okay.
And I just been, just on Etsy alone. And that's pretty much all I do.
So for your Pinterest, what does running a Pinterest ad look like? Are you pinning your products once you do the listing and then you move over to Pinterest and then you pay to promote those? Or is it something a bit more intricate?
It's usually I will spend the money on at least 2 to 3 items.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is it could be a teacup set that I've created that I've just put into my store that I know is a new product. So I'm like, okay, this is new. I'm going to go spend some money on Pinterest.
Mm.
And so then I'm able to see if there's any traction on Etsy instead of just an old one that's been floating around. And that's the great thing about Pinterest. I mean, I've got stuff floating through those waves since 2012.
Hmm.
It's incredible when I see people that are still repinning posts that I put out in
Well, yeah, it's true.
2012.
I see that too. And some things I've sold out of, and I'll see them still getting pinned.
And I'm like, wow, that is still fun. And it's still in my store. So there are a lot of items that I still have originally from 2012 that I still sell today,
Hmm.
which is wild. It blows my mind that I still sell it. So I just focus on the new. I'm going to spend any money on Pinterest if it's a new product, so I can actually see it on Etsy. Like, is it moving? Am I seeing any views from it? So that seems to be working really well for me right now. Not to say it's going to be like that forever. You know how this
Yeah, things
whole thing
change.
is. Things change quickly. You
Yeah.
think, because I used to put a lot more money into Etsy advertising,
Uh-huh.
probably way too much. And then I cut it back and I was like, I'm still seeing the same traction. Why am I
Oh.
spending all this money?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I need to just stay at this nice, even killed price point. I think everybody's so different. I really do. And my items do seem to attract the crafter that's like looking at like mason jars and they're just trying to find something new to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So they may not necessarily always come to my store and buy a product from my store, but it gets their interest going to where they're like, oh, maybe I can't have a jar in my wedding that actually matches my wedding party.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's appealing to my store is because if you have like a purple, teal, and wine wedding, you can actually come to my store and I'll match colors to your wedding. So, and put your name on it. So they seem to gravitate towards that. But the crafters try to recreate it themselves for the most part. And then I have had one or two people reach out and like, how do you do this? I'm like, I don't know if I can tell you that.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that when?
Oh my gosh. I used to a long time ago when I first started. I used to actually have people who reached out and was like, what kind of paint do you use? What kind of paint do you use? Where do you buy your jars from? And
Mm-hmm.
it would get really super, I handle always with professionalism and niceness always. But, I'm like, hey, I've been in business for a while and, this is something that I've worked on for many years and I hope you don't get offended, but I can't share all my secrets. And then I'll get a nasty bag like, well, I was trying to like sell stuff on Etsy. I was just trying to create it for my wedding. I'm like,
Sure.
oh, yeah. If that's what you want to do, sure.
Yeah. Wow, interesting.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
Now, I looked at your socials and I see, the ones you've mentioned. Have you ever considered, or is it even something that might be on your radar to one day have a website? Or is that one of those, a website, no, sorry, not like Shopify, like we mentioned before, but say blogging where you share more about your business and what you're doing or behind the scenes, or is that just something that's not on your radar at all?
My dream would be to hire somebody to handle that all for me. If I could ever get to a place where which I don't know, I have such a love for Etsy and I have such a love for the entertainment business. That's my struggle. It's the how do you balance it all and have it all?
Yeah.
I don't want to not be in a performing arts venue,
Yeah.
but there might be a day. I mean, it's a hard time right now with COVID and performing arts. There's performing arts centers closing across the country right now. I mean, if you can't have shows, you have no income. So if I ever upped my ante, I would love to have one person on my team that could do all of that for me.
Yeah.
Just do it for me.
And then right now, are you collecting email addresses? Do you have a mailing list that you stay in touch with, or not yet? That's part of your future dream.
That's part of my future dream.
Okay.
Yep. My future, have my website, get the emails, have somebody do all my social media,
Yeah.
my blogging. I mean, I would be as happy. I've tried to get one of my kids to do it at one point. That didn't go anywhere.
You tried to get who to do it?
One of my children, one of my kids.
Okay.
It's like, can you please do this for me? And they're like, what? I was like, you could do it, They're like, no, they have no interest in what I do.
Yeah. Are there any tools or resources that help you run your shop that just make things better for you that you can share with us?
Well, I have learned a lot from your podcast for sure.
Thank you so much.
There is always something I get, and I hope somebody gets something out of what I'm saying today. But I use Etsy Rank.
Okay.
I actually go through my listings. I find that to be an extremely useful tool. I love it.
How often do you find yourself using it to review your listings?
I try to go on at least once a month.
Okay.
Just to see, like, okay, I'm not ranking so high on that, but how many have I sold? I'm like, but I've sold like a good bit of that product. So it can't be, it's sitting on a C. So is that really such a bad thing? I don't, but I like the keyword suggestions. I mean, it actually, that's super helpful. Marmalade.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm actually pay for them. I need to dig a little bit more into their site. I actually need to probably revisit that and see if I need to keep that going or not going since I'm on Etsy Rank. But I found it to be pretty user friendly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just need to get back in it. I haven't probably touched that in 3-4 months now. So
of the two, which one would you say you tend to get more benefit from, or more usable information that you can act on from? Etsy Rank, or E-Rank now as it's called, because Etsy, and or Marmalade.
I love the E-Rank.
Okay.
It's simple. It's to the point. I've been using it for at least, I want to say, at least a year and a half, if not longer. So it's a great platform. Everybody needs to go check it out.
Okay.
For sure.
And I know they have, for anyone who doesn't know, they have two options. There's a free account and there's a premium account. And I think, at least the last time I took a look on the free, you do get a lot for nothing before you have to pay. And yeah, with the paid version, I know you get a bit more, but from what I understand, and the last time I looked at it, what you get with the free version is pretty robust.
Yeah, I do the free version.
Oh, well,
It's
there
great.
you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And I've even considered going to the paid portion.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's something that I could probably, I need to really start digging a little deeper into that one for sure.
Yeah, I need to figure out what more you get with the paid version over the free.
Right.
I had Anthony, I think his last name is Wolf, who started that tool on here, and in our discussion, I know we went over it, and I should I'll remember to put a link to that episode. for anyone who wants to listen. There's so much you get with the free, and then with the paid, I don't remember the details of what the differences were, but I know for sure there's so much you can do with the free version before you need to pay.
Yeah, it's great. Everybody needs to do it.
So speaking of things everybody needs to do, what advice do you have for other veteran sellers who, like you, are still sticking around on Etsy and have ridden the waves of all the different changes that have happened over the years, from now, you started in 2012, so I know you must remember the Etsy treasuries.
I do.
Yes, from the...
I miss treasuries. I was...
You know what else I miss? Etsy Mini. Do you remember Etsy Mini?
I do. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a memory.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. There was some good stuff. But there's some good stuff now too. But all that to ask, what encouragement would you give to someone who's been around and has seen things come and things go, and is still trying to make it work on Etsy? What would you tell that person? Because you're making it work.
Well, the big thing that I have so many people who reach out to me, just my friends are like, oh my gosh, we're selling Etsy. I think the big thing that people have to understand, you have to treat it like a business, period. Like, I went into selling on Etsy and I completely treated it like a business for everyone. I was that person who sat in front of my accountant, like, hey, I'm opening a business. What do I need to do? And I think there's a lot of people who start an Etsy business and they don't know to save their receipts, and they don't know, like, you've got to keep up with your paperwork, and oh, by the way, you have to pay taxes to your state,
Yeah.
And just I think being a business owner outweighs being a hobbyist. If you have to treat it like it's a business, and you have to look at your numbers, and you have to really dig into, the nuts and the bolts of it. And every single receipt I have, I can actually go to sleep at night and know that everything that I'm making, actually, I'm claiming it on my federal taxes because I'm incorporated. And I was just always so scared, like the federal government was going to knock on my door one day and be like, hey, hello, we have our money. If you treat it like a business, it steps you up a notch, and you take your craft a lot more seriously than you would if you just put something on and you're just like, I just want to see if it's going to sell. It's doing okay. I think photos are so important. And I think, thank God, iPhones have come out with a better camera. Because I look back on some of my pictures back in 2012 and I'm like, I really need to change those pictures. They're not nearly as good as the ones I have today. Yeah. But they're still selling. So I'm like, maybe I shouldn't play with them. But I think photos are important. Yeah. Put the energy, really, really pay attention to that. And then I think, you really got to keep looking at your tags and your title. It's a game that SEO is you just can't play. You always have to go in and look at and just make sure that it's everything is lining up right. So you just can't give up. Don't give up on yourself. If you've put this much energy into your business, you really just, it makes you feel good at the end of the day. It doesn't always make you feel good when you don't sell anything, but it makes you good, like when you have that customer that is, I have so many customers that are just they go up and beyond on my reviews. And I'm just like so thankful when they and I love that Etsy finally started the feature when a review is made and they can actually load a picture up.
Oh, yeah.
That was like a game changer for me. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, they can put a picture on. This is so great.
Yeah.
It's their wedding and it's their baby shower, and it just makes you feel so
Nice.
great.
Yeah.
So nice. But I think people just, as an Etsy store owner, you cannot, I don't feel like I feel like I might over communicate a little, but I don't think that's such a bad thing, if that makes sense.
It does. No,
Because
I
I
don't think
think,
it's a bad thing either.
because I think one thing during COVID that I have actually changed in my store, you would never send a message to my client that bought a custom or bought an item and like send them a thank you for ordering. Your order is being processed. I'm working on your order. This is what to expect. You should receive a picture of your product. If you can please take the time and look at it. It's just little snippets, that you have, like I have on my phone, like I have these pre-made messages. So when somebody orders something, they actually get an immediate thank you. I appreciate you ordering from me, and I think that's really upped my game. And I feel like there's instant communication, and either people ignore it and they're like, what the hell? Why is she sending me a message? And then with my products, because they're so custom, then they know that they're going to get a picture. They're going to be receiving a picture of the product.
Okay.
And I'm not going to ship it till they actually approve that they've seen it.
Right.
And there's also a little verbiage that says, if I don't hear back from you within a week, I'm going to ship it anyway. It's like, I need you to like give me your thumbs up on it. So, but I think that's actually helped during COVID a little bit, because I think people want to have a little communication going, just a little, not too overkill.
Yeah.
And then once the product ships out, I send them another message that talks about shipping, because shipping times have changed.
Mm-hmm.
They're not always accurate on when they're going to get it. So I just want them to be aware, hey, this is how you handle it. If your order's taking a little bit of time, I don't know if you realize your tracking number is in your Etsy page. And I really feel like that's actually helped my ranking, like helped my reviews.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Like
Actually, that's a good idea, pointing that out, because I can't tell you how many conversations or messages I've had from customers saying, when is my item coming, or did it ship? And I think to myself, well, yeah, Etsy sent you a message with the tracking number the day I shipped it.
Right.
And so that would save me the hassle of pretending to not mind about answering the same question 16 times.
Oh my, people don't realize that it's under their purchases in their Etsy page.
Yeah.
They have no idea. So I actually lay that out to them. I'm like, all right, so I they're my little, I think they're called snippets.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not, I have like one that goes out as soon as they order it, thanking them and what to expect.
Oh,
Then I send them a preview of the product. Then when I ship it, of course they get an email and they get a notification on their phone from Etsy saying it's been shipped.
Mm-hmm.
But then I send them another one behind it. Your order is on its way. And when it's on its way, then pretty much, this is where you find your tracking number. This is what to expect. If you have any problems, please reach out to me through Etsy Conversation.
Yeah.
And I also talk about reviews. I do. I mean,
when
nobody.
When do you bring up the reviews in that email or a subsequent email?
I actually bring it up in your package is on its way.
Okay.
And I also put a note in the package as well that says if you are unsatisfied with your order, if you could please reach out to me through Etsy Conversation. If it's less than 5 stars, if you could please, I mean, I'm just like, and I think that's actually really helped, because I think a lot of people don't realize when they put like a 2-star review, they don't realize they're hurting us as a store owner.
Yeah.
They really don't, because I've actually had 1 or 2 that have actually sent me something like a bad review, and I'm like, what is going on here? And I've talked to them, they're like, I didn't even realize that actually hurt you.
Yes.
I'm like, what? How can you not know? How can you not know that?
Buyers who don't sell don't know. I recently had something similar happen, and thankfully, and I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, so I apologize to anyone who's hearing this story again. Thankfully, the buyer left a very detailed review on top of putting, I think it was a 2-star review, and then went on to give a very long description of what she was unhappy about, which had absolutely nothing to do with me per se. It was her experience, not with my shop, but with making, because I sell crafting supplies. Her experience making what the supply was, to be used for. And so I read it a couple of times and I thought, wait, this has nothing to do with me or the pattern. This, you thought you would like, she thought she would enjoy making something, and it turned out she didn't. So then I messaged her and I said, okay, I know you don't know this, but your star rating and review reflects actually on me, not your experience of, what you were doing. And she was so apologetic, because she was a repeat customer. And she was really apologetic about that, because like you said, she didn't realize it had anything to do with me as a seller. She just thought, I don't know, like people just wanted to hear about her making the item.
Right.
And right away she went and changed it to 5 and then added an addendum to it. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I tell you another thing that I actually never started. I've never done this before. COVID's made people a little edgy, just irritated in life and just a little bit more grumpy than normal. I messages, please reach out to me, through a conversation. Will you please, I'm always open, just whatever. So this one particular lady, she gave me a 2-star rating and said that her glasses were not red, like they were not red enough.
Oh.
I was thinking that could have actually been an easy fix if she would have reached out to me before putting it. So I actually gave her the benefit. I reached out to her and never heard back from her. She ghosted me completely. Well, guess what I did? I sent her 2 new glasses.
Oh, you made them redder?
I made them deeper, and I put a note in the box and explained myself a little more. Yeah. She turned around and she changed it to a 5-star rating.
Whoa. I like that.
So not every Etsy store owner is going to want to take money out of their pocket to turn a review around.
Yeah.
And I've only had to do that maybe twice. But I'm just so bound and determined that I want to make them happy. Yes. And I will do whatever it takes to get to that point. I will.
Yeah.
I will.
And it's worth it, because, well, for a couple of reasons. One, Etsy has said very clearly that your customer service ranking is a factor in your Etsy search ranking. So you do want to try and make your customers happy. And you have, as a seller, you have to determine what the cost of that is. If it's, comping them, the product, or, or giving them a coupon for future sales, something. You need to figure out what that cost of keeping your customers happy is, because the larger cost is you potentially not showing up in a favorable position in Etsy search, which ends up costing you more in sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a bad Etsy week during COVID. It was probably back in, I want to say in June.
Mm.
And I was on top of it, and I don't know it was like, I think there was a full moon that week. I don't know what was going on. I mean, it was so weird. I've never had anything like this happen, but like all of a sudden I had like 3 rank, like that's why I decided I was going to start really over communicating and talking about the rankings a little more, is because I never felt like I needed to explain it. But that one particular week, I had like two 1-star and 1 2-star, and it was over shipping, and it was over stupidness. It wasn't even like, I was just shaking my head. So then I went straight. I went straight on like and bought like postcards that explained. I think I was up at like 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, I have got to make this better because I'm not doing something right by not communicating to my customers. Like, I am an open book. Please reach out to me if you're not happy. And believe it or not, out of those 3, I ended up turning them back to a 5-star because I just got creative. I was, you have to do what it takes to make your customers happy.
Yeah.
And, you're not going to make them all happy. And I'm very realistic about that.
Yeah.
I understand. But I can actually turn around and walk at the end of the day. If I have to give them a refund, then I have to give them a refund.
Yeah.
It's not going to ruin my day, and I'm not going to ruin their day.
Yeah.
And there are some people out there that will try to use you and take advantage. I love the customers, which doesn't happen often, that order a large order from me and they come back and their first message is like, my whole order, everything in the box is broken.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, okay, send me some pictures. I need detailed pictures. Then you find out of the 10 glasses you sent, only 1 was broken. My whole order was broken. I'm like, no, you're going to have to send me some pictures. I'm like, that's an easy fix. I can create a new one and send it out to you. Okay. Things get broke. It's not, I mean, I do everything I can. I've actually improved another thing on shipping that since 2012, I haven't put a lot of energy into what my products look like when people open the box. Like, I would just bubble wrap them, throw them in a box with some peanuts with the little note, call it a day. But I think during COVID, I was like, how can I make my products look prettier? I want my customers to have a full experience of opening the box. And so now I bubble wrap them, and then I put this pretty foam white, and then I have like a thank you sticker on it, and they're pretty, and you open the box, and now it's an experience for them. And I think that's actually helped my store, because I've had some customers reach out and like, your packet, I didn't expect to see that the glasses were wrapped so beautifully.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's the little things that everybody needs to, put the energy into what you're packing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just try.
Just try. Yes.
Just try. And always do it. But it's, I probably the worst customer service situation I ever had. A lady, she opened her box and she said that her finger was cut on a broken glass.
Oh, no.
And she said she was going to sue me.
Oh, is that even possible?
I was like, it was probably back in 2014. I was pretty new, and I was so upset. I was so upset. And so I basically put some praying into it and basically figured out. I was like, okay, she can't talk to me like that either. She's gonna sue me? Like, oh my gosh,
Well,
people.
how did it end?
She never reached back out to me. She
Oh.
ne she ne she I basically asked her, I said, "Listen, I apologize for your broken product. This is not the way I want to see this happen. I apologize, but, I'll replace whatever you need to. I apologize." And that's all I said, and she never reached back out to me. She was just mad in the moment, and I think a lot of store owners have to realize that a lot of customers are just caught up in the moment. They're just mad over something.
Yeah.
And if you can try, sometimes you can turn them around and sometimes you can't. It's just they're going to be mad. I mean, I've even had a lady who got mad because I refunded her money. I'm like, ask for the refund.
Oh.
But you're mad at me. I don't understand that. I don't know.
Wow. You can't win them all, Cindy.
You cannot win them all, but you've just got to try.
You can
Just
try. You can try. Cindy, I feel like we could keep talking for another hour or so.
You're the best.
Thank you. No, I really do
out.
appreciate you coming on. Finally.
Oh my gosh,
And
3 years. Wow. And
yeah,
maybe in 3 more years I'll come back
I was
and
going to
you'll never
say,
know.
yeah. Let's do it again in 3 more years. No, but I'm sure things are going to continue to change and evolve. I like that you've been so resilient through all the changes, and Etsy is always keeping us on our toes that way. So for sure, I would like to catch up with you again in the future and see what you're doing and what you're up to, and I just know how all this panned out with the pandemic. Everything is so up in the air. I feel like a year from now we'll all be telling the stories of how how we made it to the next level or the next point in our journeys because of this, how life, what's the word? Not shattering, but life altering, living through this pandemic has been for us.
I think 2020, a lot of people will be happy to see it go away. I know I will.
Yes, I think I will too. And I was really excited for it. It just felt like a nice, rounded year to be entering a brand new decade. And wow, boy, was it different.
Crazy. Well, you Etsy store owners, you keep creating, because when everybody creates beautiful product, it just makes for everybody coming to the site. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just such a great platform. I'm a big fan. I hope to continue to still be on this platform for as long as they'll have me. I mean,
Yeah.
great. I think I do. I do.
What's the best way folks can connect with you? Where can they find you?
Best place is send me a message through Etsy is
Okay.
the best. I'm very super responsive, as you heard in the middle of the night earlier.
Yes. You're
Please
you're a
reach
buyer's
out.
you're a buyer's dream seller.
Oh my, I don't, being back in the entertainment world in the next month, I'm hoping I'll still be on top of it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that, the industry's a little weird right now, and we're hoping it's going to bounce back, and COVID will have a little bit more control over this virus, and
Yeah.
people can start getting I think people want to be entertained. I
For
do.
sure. For
I
sure.
think I think everybody's missing going to a Broadway show or a concert or a comedian. Everybody has their favorite entertainment out, and
Yes.
virtual just does not cut it. I think
Not for some things, it doesn't.
no, it doesn't cut
Yeah.
it. So we will be back entertaining at the masses, and I will continue creating mason jar products with teacups.
And I do hope in this time too that, not only do you get the additional time to spend on your shop, but that it's also a time of growth for your shop too.
Oh, for sure. And
Yeah.
I think I was telling a friend of mine the other day, and I think this is a good way to end. I think if you didn't get something out of COVID that's productive,
Hmm.
then then you're just wallowing in nothing.
Mm.
I think you really need to dig down to your toes and figure out what makes you happy and what you
Yeah.
love,
Yeah.
you know, in the terrible things that are going on in the country. I think there is some positive that's going to come out of it. I think everybody just needs to figure out what makes them happy.
Yeah.
Got to figure it out,
Yep.
and jars make me happy. So I'm
I
going to
like that.
continue.
Jars make me happy.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. That is a just the perfect note to end on. Again, if you want to check out Cindy's shop, it's Mason Jar Designs by CH, and I will have a link to it in the podcast. Cindy, thank you so much for being my guest. Thank you for making me happy by having this conversation with me, and I look forward to our next one.
Yes. Thank you. You're the best.
Thanks, Cindy. And I thank you for listening to the podcast. I will be back again next week.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.